President Roosevelt said December 7, 1941, a day that will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. This was a tragic loss for the United States. We had the opportunity to prepare for and maybe even prevent this tragedy by the events leading up to the attack. We suffered the loss of many ships, aircraft, and many American lives. This event shaped our history and changed how the rest of the world views us today. From historyworld.org and historymatters.edu, some of the events leading up to the attack include October of 1938, when the President asked Congress for $500 million to increase the armed forces. Japan saw this as a direct threat to their plan of expansion into the Pacific, as we were the only country standing in the way. In February of 1939, Admiral Yamamoto came into command of the Japanese fleet. He devised a plan to remove the United States from the Pacific. In January of 1941, the U.S. ambassador to Japan, Joseph Grew, learned of the surprise attack plan and informed Washington. Sadly, Washington did not believe the information he had acquired. In March of 1941, Japanese intelligence officers began traveling and taking note of the Navy fleet and painting a clear picture of Pearl Harbor and where each individual ship was located. In April of 1941, the United States Army and Navy intelligence failed to communicate with each other, resulting in the lack of preparation for the attack. In November of 1941, Tokyo sent a diplomat to Washington to seek a solution other than war. The United States would not agree for a plan for Japanese to expand into the South. The attack. Hours before dawn on December 7th, a Japanese submarine was attacked and reported sank. This event was handled routinely and not considered a serious threat. At 6 a.m. on December 7th, the first wave of 181 Japanese fighter planes and bombers was released to Pearl Harbor. At 7 a.m., the Army radar spotted the wave and passed it off as American planes due to arrive that morning. At 7:50 a.m., the Pearl Harbor fleet, military installations, and military airfields were all bombed at the same time, giving no opportunity for the United States to intercept them. The 8 battleships were the primary targets of the Japanese. The battleships sank were the USS Arizona, Oklahoma, and Utah. The USS Arizona is responsible for 1,177 deaths, which is about half of the total death toll of the Pearl Harbor attack. Ships that were seriously damaged include the USS Nevada, Maryland, and Tennessee. At 8:30 a.m., there was a lull in the attack for the second wave of the Japanese. The USS Nevada moved down the channel until it had to beach itself at Hospital Point to avoid blocking the channel. The attack on Pearl Harbor ended shortly before 10 a.m., just 2 hours after it started. In total, 21 ships were damaged or sank, 188 aircraft were destroyed, 159 aircraft were damaged, 2,403 Americans died, and 1,178 were wounded. The Japanese lost only 29 planes, which was less than 10% of the force they used to attack Pearl Harbor. The aircraft carriers on the United States and the shoreside facilities were not targeted or damaged. Most of the ships that were damaged were raised and repaired and later rejoined the fleet. From pearlharbor.org and nps.gov, some of the results of the attack were a fear that was sparked of the Japanese Americans, causing an executive order requiring them to show up for arrest and internment. The United States Army and Navy were unable to fight in the Pacific War for 6 months. As a result of that, Japan conquered Southeast Asia, Southwest Pacific, and extended into the Indian Ocean. United States submarines brought the Japanese economy to a standstill by crippling transportation of oil and immobilizing heavy ships. The United States military marked the aircraft carrier as the center of naval power after Pearl Harbor attack. The Pearl Harbor attack pushed the United States into World War II and justified the bombings of Nagasaki and Hiroshima. The United States is now considered a dominant world power because of how we handled the attack on Pearl Harbor. I have personally visited the memorial of the USS Arizona and was left in awe of the destruction. To this day, oil still stands on top of the water from the sinking ships. The names of those lost are engraved in a memorial for people to reflect on. It has changed the lives and brought the country together in the time of crisis.